Hi, and welcome to this second hour of Free for All Friday on Focal Point AFR Talk, 888-589-8840. We'll take some phone calls toward the end of this segment. I want to jump right into a soundbite. Jon Stewart got a program on Comedy Central. He had Nancy Pelosi on last night, and Jon Stewart wants to talk to Nancy Pelosi about the absolute, utter catastrophe that is Obamacare. According to CNN, only 20%, maybe 30%, of the people who have signed up for Obamacare have not yet paid their first premium. So they're enrolled. They put a plan in the basket. They did not pay for it. You know, Fox News is reporting that the IRS, which is going to run Obamacare, remember, they're going to run it. They're the enforcers. There were 20 million calls they did not answer last year. 20 million phone calls to the IRS. Please give me help with my 1040 form. Those calls were not answered. They got 8.4 million letters. More than half of them were not even answered or responded to. Got a story here out of Seattle where sick children who need specialty care are being denied by Obamacare. Hospital filed requests on behalf of 125 patients. They only got 20 responses. So now they have to talk. I mean, here we have this. These are the death panels. This is what Sarah Palin warned us about. You got to go to some bureaucrat to get permission to provide what sick children need. So the hospital, this is Seattle Children's Hospital, it's one of the top children's hospitals in the country, filed requests on behalf of 125 patients. They only got 20 responses, 8 of which were denials. So 12 out of 125, about 10%, and these are sick children. For instance, a 2-year-old with a significant neck mass that was being evaluated for infection or malignancy, an older child with a chronic severe medical condition requiring multidisciplinary care, a baby with a skull abnormality, and all of them got turned down, did not get the help that they needed. Mayo Clinic now is starting to charge their employees for the first time ever, first time in 10 years that they've actually charged healthcare or changed healthcare options for their employees. And the increase, $180 a year for a single employee, $576 for a family. So the Mayo Clinic workers are freaking out. And you've got these efforts around the country to gut Obamacare. South Carolina's working on it. Ohio, Mississippi, Missouri, West Virginia, a lot of these states working on finding ways to gut Obamacare because this is a disaster. So Jon Stewart, he wants to talk to Nancy Pelosi. Why is this thing such a disaster? Let's listen.
But why do we have so much trouble executing these plans with any kind of efficiency?
Well, again, if you're dealing with people who have no agenda, you know, who nothing and nothing is our agenda and never is our timetable, right, it's very hard to negotiate with them.
Right.
And so we are responsible. And in other words, call us responsible.
Right.
They know we're going to vote not to shut down government. They know we're going to vote for the budget no matter how unpleasant it is.
Right.
The choice we have is to be irresponsible and
Sure,
follow their path, or we don't want to be fear-mongers, but to explain this to the public is very bad news.
But I mean, aside from that aspect, I meant more in terms of like, okay, we are going to set up a healthcare website that is an exchange. People are going to come to it.
Right.
Why is it so hard to get a company to execute that competently?
I don't know. And as one who works very hard. No, and that's my question.
Well, let me get the House Minority Leader here. I can ask her. Hold on.
No.
Wait, what do you mean you don't know?
Well,
how do you not know?
Well, it's not my responsibility, but I will say this. We worked very hard to honor our responsibility, to pass a bill that honors the vows of our founders, life, a healthier life, liberty, to pursue your happiness. To have policy. Yeah, if you want to be a writer, if you want to be a comedian, if you want to be a camera person, if you want to start a business.
But those are theoretical. I'm talking about the practical mechanics.
So Jon Stewart trying to get some answer from Nancy Pelosi. Why is this thing such a disaster? Nancy Pelosi says, I don't know. It's not my responsibility. It's not my fault. I had nothing to do with it. I'm finding out about it just like you. So we've got a low information president. We have a low information attorney general, and now we have a low information House minority leader. Let's go to the phones. Let's go to Brian in Moulton, Alabama. Brian, welcome to Focal Point with Brian Fisher. Brian from Moulton, Alabama. What's on your mind?
Hey, Brian. I'm learned about your program recently, and I really enjoyed listening to it. And I was listening yesterday near the end of your program, and you had a young lady, I think her name was Erin, she called in, and I believe she said she was a seminary student in Mississippi.
Yeah, I think she was a seminary graduate, actually.
Yeah, okay. And you were trying to talk to her about how bad illegal immigration is, and at first she somewhat irritated me, but the more I listened to her, I began to actually feel sorry for her. She seemed to be just a typical shallow thinker, as we call a low information voter, and she just seemed to be very immature. You did excellent job of pointing out things why they're illegal, and she just couldn't seem to grasp the word illegal. I don't know. I guess she's probably a product of the public school system or something, but she just doesn't seem to grasp reality or something. But I just wanted to make that comment, and unfortunately, a lot of the voters today are thinkers like her, and it's really sad.
Well, and Brian, I wonder if the word thinker is the right word to use with somebody like that, because it's very clear that she is not thinking about this issue. She is feeling about this issue. She has certain,
and I'm sure she believes in what she believes.
Yeah, for her, it's just all emotion and feeling and sympathy, and she simply does not think about what the consequences are. Because my feeling, well, if you're going to bring compassion into the discussion of immigration, I'm all for that. I'm down with compassion, but we ought to include somewhere in that. We ought to include some kind of compassion for people whose farms and ranches and homes are being overrun by illegal aliens, for communities that are being shredded by drug cartels operating from Mexico in the United States, by the violence that comes with that. We ought to have some compassion for the people whose hospitals are closing and whose emergency rooms are being shut down because of handling illegal aliens. We ought to have some concern, some compassion for the people whose education systems are being overrun with people who cannot speak English. Therefore, it slows down the learning process for everybody in the room. I mean, at some point, you've got to start having some kind of compassion for those people. And it seems to me that, like you were saying, Brian, she's just more interested in feeling and not really interested at all in thinking, because when I would ask her questions that were fairly simple and required just a modicum of logic, either she couldn't or she wouldn't answer those questions.
Right. Well, I have one other thing real quick. A couple of years ago, I obtained a very interesting little booklet. It's called Immigration and Nation, A Biblical View by John Vinson. I think that little booklet is no longer in print, but I can give you either on the air or off the air website and a telephone number to see if you could get a copy of that.
All right, Brian. Well, listen, we are out of time for this segment. If you'll hang on, Wesley, if you'd get the website information, the URL from Brian on that website, we'd be glad to get that. So, Brian, hang on. Wesley will with you get that information and jot it down. Thanks for your call. Appreciate it. And glad you found us, Brian. And don't forget, wherever you happen to live in the world, you can catch us audio and video streaming at afr.net, afr.net. Back in Tuesday with us, Focal Point, AFR Talk.